Namaste, you're on the Nation at 5. I'm Anand Anand Narasimhan coming to you live from the CNN News 18 newsroom here. Ladies and gentlemen, we will turn the spotlight towards what's been happening in the United Kingdom in the area of Leicester. For a few days, ladies and gentlemen, and it all started with the India-Pakistan cricket match. Now we are given to understand, as we do a deep dive, that it all started on the 28th of August, and this is actually not a fight between two communities, that is Hindus and Muslims, but this is India versus Pakistan, and it is Pakistani groups and individuals who are behind not just the vandalizing and desecration of temples, but also targeting of Hindu families and business establishments in this region. It started on the 28th of August with a cricket match which India won, but ahead of the match, a burger was served on an Indian flag in a Muslim restaurant run by a Pakistani, and that's where this whole fracas started. India won that match on the 28th of August. There were celebrations, and then, of course, there were complaints that were raised. But what we are given to understand is these celebrations happened purely within the rules and after permission from the local administration. But the whole aspect changed, and matters got out of hand on the 4th of September when Pakistan beat India. After that, things spiraled. And not just on that day where there was large-scale vandalism, it was actually a huge group of people in thousands who came from Birmingham. They came from Birmingham to Leicester, and they created huge amount of ruckus. Hindu homes were targeted. In fact, Ganesh Chaturthi festival was disrupted in some of the homes. There was pelting of eggs which happened. Desecration happened. There was... And it carried on, not just on the 4th, it spilled over into the 5th and went on into the 6th of September. Over 3 days, this entire ruckus spilled over, and matters really took a turn for the worse, with a large number of Hindu groups being targeted. Then there was rumor mongering which was countered by the Leicester police immediately, saying that no mosque had been attacked, but clearly a Hanuman temple flag atop a Hanuman temple had been vandalized and had been pulled down. And there were other instances also which had come to the fore, all of them confirmed by the authorities. Now we are given to understand that there has been cognizance of this entire development and what has happened, and the involvement of Pakistani elements in creating this entire ruckus with a deliberate intent to push a certain element of communal strife and in this region, and specifically target Hindu families. Now, these are visuals that have come to the fore of rioting, arson, the cops having to get in to try and crack down, and largely given a portrayal like it was a clash between two communities, Hindus versus Muslims, but that's not the case. We are given to understand this is more an India versus Pakistan kind of a scenario that has happened, with Pakistani nationals and Pakistani elements involved in trying to trigger this unease. Now, we're given to understand there is a response that's coming from the High Commission in the United Kingdom. High Commission has issued a statement. Let's go straight across to that statement. We've pulled out that statement here. This is what is written. This has been issued on the 19th of September 2022. We strongly condemn the violence perpetrated against the Indian community in Leicester and vandalization of premises and symbols of Hindu religion. We have strongly taken up this matter with the United Kingdom authorities and have sought immediate action against those involved in these attacks. We call on the authorities to provide protection to the affected people. So the High Commission also waiting through that period of mourning since the Queen's demise to try and take cognizance and to raise this matter altogether. Sanjay Suri is with us. Sanjay Suri, you've had a busy weekend and also through today covering the funeral and the final rites of Queen Elizabeth II. But this ruckus actually spilled on from the 4th of September till about the 6th, 7th. And matters really went out of hand. And as we are getting access to the details, there is clear involvement of Pakistani elements who've come all the way from Birmingham into Leicester to create this ruckus and target Hindu families particularly.
Yes, and of course, while we've all been mourning the passing of the Queen now on the occasion of the funeral now, concerns have been rising all the time about the events in Leicester. Because what is happening is a very organized and apparently well-resourced campaign that is behind this. The way that lies have been spread on the social media is not the work of an individual or two. And, you know, in a situation like this, it's always, there will be allegations and counter-allegations. But consider one or two very salient facts. that have emerged, and as confirmed by the police, not that the police have entirely been impartial here. One, the allegation spread on social media that a mosque was attacked. That is simply not the case. No such thing happened, and the police have now confirmed that no such thing happened. What did happen was that at the Shivalaya Mandir in Leicester, a group of people came and they tore down a Hindu flag at the temple. That is a fact, and the police again have confirmed. They say they are aware of this incident and they are investigating. What that leads to is another matter. The police say they have made 2 arrests, and that is very few. Given the scale of this assault, given the scale on which these people have got together and attacked Indian homes around Leicester, the police clearly needed to do very much more than they have done, and we've seen a very little action so far from the police.
Did Sanjay, was there somebody who in Leicester who tried to organize this group? Was there a congregation at a local stadium where certain, very, very communally driven radical calls were given? And were Hindu homes specifically being targeted?
Oh yes, the latter certainly, and of course these days for a communication you don't need to call people to one place to then get them to come to another place. Clearly there was a communication on social media, on WhatsApp groups, and there were physical meetings amongst people who had to lead this whole assault, and therefore it is very clear that this has been very, very, very carefully organized. And the police are quite well aware of that, and they're investigating this, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it. But clearly, Hindu homes were picked and they were targeted, and the reason that happened was clear. It was the identity of those who were carrying out these attacks, and the method was clear as well, because you have homes that have Hindu symbols, you have cars parked with Hindu symbols and images and of deities inside, and those were picked and attacked and vandalized.
Sanjay, was there targeting of Navratri celebrations? Were young girls also perhaps abused and targeted at one of the Navratri festivals?
There were some allegations like this. There were some allegations that were never substantiated. And so it's very hard to say what would happen. Again, the social media has been a vehicle for spreading rumors that have been motivated and even mischievous. So there were some allegations made about some people having done some such thing, but these were never substantiated.
Right. Sanjay Suri, thank you for your inputs. I know you have time is of essence for you. You've got pressing commitments, and you've been doing a fantastic job for us while covering the Queen's funeral procession. Thank you very much for your inputs and for joining in on this story. Let's quickly go across to Pandit Satish Sharma and also Kuldeep Shekhawat, Director, MATV, both joining us from London. Satish Sharma ji, namaste. Could you throw light on what actually happened and what kind of action has been taken? We're given to understand that the Commissioner has been asked to meet Baroness Verma in that region.
Pranam ji, namaskar, Jai Shri Ram to you. Thank you, Anand ji, for grasping this very thorny subject. Much of what Sanjay ji is absolutely on the nail. He's got it spot on. I've got a few more additional bits to add to it. It's self-evident that there are people coming from outside to incite violence. It's self-evident now on the basis of video recording that the violence is being targeted. The nature of the allegations that are being made are also very clearly politically motivated. There is no evidence, for example, that the Hindus in that part of Leicester have anything to do with the BJP, nothing to do with the RSS. And yet this is some of the hate speech that's being thrown about. The phrase RSS, Nazi, fascist, all of this is permeating social media. That is deliberately designed to tarnish the reputation and indeed the identity of the Hindus in Leicester. I'm sure that the people who are circulating this information have no means to establish whether the Hindus who are targeting have anything to do with the BJP or anything to do with the RSS. So this is just a hate campaign, but the level of hatred which is being poured into social media, I think, is a first. We have never seen in this country such targeting, such malice, such deliberately constructed fake narratives being proliferated over such a sustained period. And I suspect that the Leicester police are also struggling to contain and keep on top of it. There's one
Well,
point which is causing me a great deal of concern, though, and I'd like to share it, and that is that, the purpose of the police is to uphold the law. There was a statement, uh, a published document produced by the Police Federation in 1996, where they defined the purpose of the police. And they said it's to uphold the law fairly and firmly, to prevent crime, to pursue and bring to justice those who break the law, to keep the Queen's peace, to protect, help, and reassure the community. Now, doesn't that sound wonderful? But if you have a look at the evidence of what was happening outside of that Shivale that Sanjayji mentioned, there were plenty of police officers in evidence. They were standing there. They were not between the Hindu temple and those who wanted to cause damage. They were actually in between the those causing damage and the rest of the Hindu community. So in fact, they were acting to prevent anybody stopping those perpetrators of violence and damage from actually attacking the temple. And that's totally at odds with their purpose. They should have been making arrests there and then. They should have been leaping to seize that individual who was standing on the walls tearing down the Om guard. And that wasn't the case. They did nothing whatsoever. And when I look for a trend, equally it was the Hindu families who were required to remain in their homes. Whereas the purpose of the police is to ensure the freedom of individuals and citizens to go about their normal day-to-day business without fear and without obstruction. The easy solution is always kettle the Hindus, confine the Hindus, and allow them to give up their rights and indeed their freedoms purely and solely as a sacrifice on this altar of trying to maintain the peace. That's not what the police are there for. They are there to ensure justice. And if we lose sight of that fact and give up the requirement for justice above all, we lose safety, we lose security, we lose comfort, we lose everything else. So justice must be something that we demand the police to adhere to. And I think we should ask them to give account for this.
The videos show for themselves, and you've made a very strong allegation saying that the cops did not do their job. They did not stop the desecration of the temple. They did not stop the vandalism. They were just mute spectators. They were, and it was one particular section, or that's the Hindus who were advised to stay indoors. While that should have not been the case. They should have been the confidence to been given the confidence to go about doing their job. Kuldeep ji, let me ask you, you're a director at MATV, so let me ask you this. What does the video evidence suggest? We are given to understand here, my investigations editor, Manoj Gupta, is telling us that that it all started with insult to the national flag, that is the Indian flag, because a restaurant, a Pakistani restaurant, served burger on the national flag. That's where this whole thing started.
Yes, Anand, that's true. That was the beginning of the whole thing. That was on 28th of August. And when that was served, some of these boys who are Daman boys actually, the boys are new to United Kingdom. They have just come to UK from Gujarat. Daman is a part of Gujarat anyway.
Yes.
So they didn't like it and they had a bit of brawl at that restaurant. But that day, India also won that match against Pakistan. So there was a bit of drum beating. There was a bit of what you call celebration by the Indian community that was not liked by the Pakistani community. And when on fourth, when Pakistan won the match, there were people who came from Halifax. They came from Manchester, and that was the start of the issue in Leicester. They vandalized some Indian homes. They really hit some Indian boys. One boy was knifed at that day. So the beginning was because of the cricket match, but really it was not cricket match alone. Social media has played a very dirty game. I'll tell you something really funny that has happened. There was a bus that has traveled to Glasgow when Prime Minister Modi turned up in Glasgow. That bus guy, that coach guy has never gone to Leicester, but in social media they have put the picture of that bus with the Indians standing with the Indian flag and saying these are the people who are turned up in Leicester and these are the ones who are creating problems. So social media, because it's uncontrollable, there is no regulation, and because of that, people are putting up fake pictures, fake data, and trying to establish that it was the Indian community which has started all this. Whereas Indian community has really kept their mum. They have really shown lot of restraint. Now the police has stepped in, and the local politicians have stepped in. Now situation is under control, but to be precise, it has started because of only and only the Pakistani angle. Nothing to do with India and the Indian community. Indian community is a very peace-loving community, and they never ever do. Leicester has never been a place of this kind of scenario. Never. This is the first time this is happening in UK and in Leicester actually. Thank you.
But Kuldeep ji, let me ask you this. Is there proof that these were all Pakistani nationals and they came from Birmingham, like you said, Halifax and some of the other portions, Manchester, etc.? Did the cops not do their job properly? Pandit Satish Sharma ji is saying that there is video evidence where it says the cops did not stop the vandalism of the Shivalaya.
That's true. That's very true. What he has said has a lot of sense. Police had been a silent spectator all around, right from the word go. Whenever they found things going out of hand, then they have reacted a little bit. They had rounded up around 122 people altogether, but then they let go around 60 of them, and rest of the 60 will also be gone because they don't take it very seriously. Police is not doing its job. That is understood, first of all. Secondly, what police has not taken into account and police has not reacted to was vandalism of a Hindu temple.
Yes.
They tore down the flag. Police was standing right there. They didn't do nothing. They just stood there, and finally, some of the Indian volunteers reacted. Then police started reacting to it. And on top of that, on the Melton Road, which is the main road in Leicestershire and Leicester City,
Right.
that road was literally a site of vandalism. Everywhere there were stones, there were a lot of ruckus, and they were all around. So Leicester doesn't have that kind of people. Most of the people,
Right.
there are a lot of Indian Muslims living in Leicester also, and they are not anti-India at all. They are pro-India. So
Right.
they were never involved in this kind of a thing. But yes,
Right.
the people turned up from outside. They came from Halifax. They came from Manchester, and yes, day for yesterday
Well-
they came from Birmingham. That's what happened actually.
Well, we've got more news coming through on this very story. Our investigations editor Manoj Gupta getting us these details. We've got the inside story of the London riots between the Hindu and Muslim groups. Now we're given to understand it's an India and Pakistan scenario that's happened. And the role of the ISI and the UK-Pakistan consulate is currently under the scanner. We are given to understand that these were deliberately instigated. Kuldeep Shekhawat just saying that there were deep fakes doing the rounds, there were misinformation doing the rounds on social media, and there was a deliberate attempt to fan the flames, to further try and propel and fuel this kind of social unrest which is perpetrated. And there were people who have come from other parts of the UK into Leicester and caused this ruckus. We've got the information saying that their sources are saying that this all started, like I said, for disrespect to the Indian flag, and it was done deliberately. On the 6th of September, third consecutive night of attacks, hundreds of Muslim youth on the rampage, 50 homes and cars have been damaged. The Commissioner of Police has been asked to meet Baroness Verma and control the street crime at this point. But why would there be any inaction? Why would the cops not do something? While the cops were prompt to say that no mosque was vandalized and no attack at a mosque, why were they standing there when a temple was being desecrated? And who were these people? If they have come from out of Leicester, they are non-locals, why were they let go of? Why weren't they rounded up? These are questions that have to be answered. And not just a larger hand, greater hand. Could there be the involvement of certain UK politicians also in this, Pandit Satish Sharma?
I would wish for there to be more involvement of UK politicians, especially from our community. If there's one thing that's been noticeable, Leicester is a very well-established community. It has always been, to the best of my knowledge, a staunch Labour constituency. John Ashworth, we have Claudia Webb, who we know is a questionable character, recently convicted. But we also have a large number of Indian origin councillors, and not a single one stepped forward to get involved or to make public statements or to try and quell the violence, try and diminish anything at all. There has been absolutely nothing. It's devastating. Frankly, I'm quite shocked. The Leicester population makes such a huge contribution to the exchequer. They're a very successful business community. They pay very high levels of local taxes in order to fund the police. And yet on the one occasion when they have every right to be respected and also protected in any manner that a citizen would want to be able to, they have been completely let down. It's just shocking. It really is.
Well, Kuldeep Shekhawatji, Pandit Satish K. Sharma, thank you for your inputs. We've got a big development coming through at this point, so have to go across to that. And this is with respect to Sanjay Raut. The court has taken cognizance of the charge sheet filed in the Patra Chaul scam. The developments post arrest of Praveen Raut. Praveen Raut is the then director of Guru Ashish Constructions. Financial dealings or transactions directly or indirectly between Praveen Raut and his wife, and Sanjay Raut and his family members. Sanjay Raut's failure to explain details of purchase of flat in Dadar and how his wife and others got a beach plot in Alibag. So these are aspects which stand out in this charge sheet, saying all unsecured loan. All of this was covered in 2010, 2012 when Patra Chaul of 1100 crores had happened. We have details coming through that as per Sanjay Raut failed to explain the actual details. Ashish Merishi now joining us with more detail. So the ED charge sheet says Sanjay Raut could not explain how he got possession of certain property and wealth, and that the court has taken cognizance of now, Ashish.
So, if Anand, if you remember, when the searches happened at the time of when this case was happening and Sanjay Raut's house was raided as well and he was further arrested, there are certain documents that were found where it revealed that there were certain cash dealings that happened for the purchase of certain properties. Now, what they have identified is the proceeds of crime from the Patra Chaul scam. According to this charge sheet that we have in our hand, it reveals that around 1 crore 6 lakh rupees of proceeds of crime has reached into the hands of Sanjay Raut and his wife Varsha Raut. That is what has been claimed in the charge sheet. What more, it reveals is that the land, especially the land that has been bought in Alibag and the house in Dadar, that they have not been they have not been able to give correct explanation from where did they generate their wealth for purchase of these properties. Also, they have not been able to give satisfactory explanation of around 11.5 lakh rupees of cash that was recovered at the house of Sanjay Raut when the searches happened. So these are the details of the charge sheet as of now. But certainly it's a big scam. We all know that the land it's a huge piece of land in Goregaon, in Mumbai, where this land was basically supposed to be it was in the hands of certain chawl owners. Then it was supposed to be it was in the hands of MHADA. They were supposed to relocate these individuals and new houses were supposed to be made. Nothing like that happened, and the land was not also returned to MHADA, and finally it turned out to be a scam of almost 1100 crore rupees. So finally, yes, it's a big scam, but certain part of the benefits or proceeds of crime have reached into the hands of Sanjay Raut, and that is why he continues to be in the jail as of now.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for your inputs, Ashish Merishi. We're going to take a very, very short break. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. A chief minister gets deplaned. We'll tell you why when we come back. Stay with us.